Along with now David Sanger, a CNN political and national security analyst and White House and national security correspondent for the New York Times. And one note, David Urban recently consulted for ByteDance, but he no longer does. David, let me go to you, Sanger. Trump once tried to ban this app, talking about national security. Now there's a proposal for kind of a 50-50 deal. What's possible here?
Well, lots of things are possible, but the question is, what problem are we trying to solve for? The problem that we're trying to solve is that the algorithm, which watches what you're selecting on TikTok and then recommends other things to you, including news and so forth, that is written not by TikTok in the United States, but by ByteDance, the parent company, in China. And China's got rules that say it can never be exported. So in other words, we can't see behind the closed veil here about what's going into the algorithm. Now, President-elect Trump, came out today with this idea, first in a Truth Social post, and then at his rally, where he says, I know, we're going to have a 50-50 co-ownership here. It's got all the problems you just discussed, right? He didn't make it clear whether it would be the government or not, but he did say during the rally, and we don't pay a cent for our 50% share. Our contribution to this comes from approving this thing to be in the United States. So basically saying to ByteDance, without our approval, it's worthless.
What is likely that ByteDance would actually agree to that, though? I mean, that's a heck of a raw deal for them.
Yeah, it's going to seem like it's sort of a gun to their head a bit to go do it. But then the second part comes, which is, okay, so where's the algorithm written? Who gets to see how that's done? And the president hasn't spoken to that. So he's told us about the deal. He said we'll make a lot of money from it. He hasn't addressed the central national security problem.
Let me just outline 3 quick points about this. The first is, this started under President Trump's first administration. Let's not forget that's where this ball began rolling. And you actually have a bill that passed the United States House, the United States Senate, was signed into law, and then unanimously solidified by our United States Supreme Court. An executive order, whenever it's signed, tomorrow or whenever, cannot usurp that, cannot undo that. And so that's first. The second thing is, which is more concerning for a company like Oracle, I want to know who's making these decisions. But if there's any liability on the part of ByteDance or TikToks for something such as human trafficking or anything else, a Democratic attorney general now can sue those companies who are violating the United States law. They open themselves up to a great bit of liability. And if anybody's watching that out there, just call me and we can figure this thing out. So, and last but not least, just briefly, this is how asinine this is. Republicans and Donald Trump want to nationalize TikTok, but defund NPR and PBS. In what world does that make sense?
There's a lot to unpack there. So let's start with the basics. As David said, what problem are you trying to solve for? And the problem is the algorithm really is kind of the secret sauce here. And there's
I thought it was national security. That's the point.
Well, that's the point. The algorithm, national security part, right? So lots of things we could talk about here. You know, we should talk about Salt Typhoon on this network till we can't talk about it anymore before we talk about TikTok, I think, the things that occurred there. But let's just stick to TikTok. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. has been working on this for now 8 years. There's been a proposal for them in front of them that they've worked through it. Trump administration officials, the Biden administration officials, which really brings everything on shore, radical transparency, the ways to look at the algorithm, right? Things that no other company would do that TikTok had bent over backwards working with the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. to accomplish. So a lot of those things have been solved for, right? Your point about Oracle, and David knows this well, and maybe the rest of some viewers know this as well. Oracle is one of the most trusted providers of cloud services and other services to the U.S. government. Incredibly complex arrangements with the FBI, NSA. I think that the name Oracle comes from their first contract, Project Oracle, with the CIA, if I'm not mistaken, David. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. So they are an incredibly trusted partner with the U.S. government. They would never put their reputation on the line if they were doing something that was unseemly or were going to favor the CCP over the United States. You look at Larry Ellison and Safra Catz, who are the leaders of Oracle. They're incredibly patriotic, great individuals.
Here's the
so they
thing,
would never compromise
that's-
that.
But that wasn't my point,
No,
though.
there is
Hold on.
there is a
I hear you, but
solution
hold on
here,
one second.
right?
My point, question, I want to bring you into this, Laura, because I value your opinion on this topic, especially. There is the nuanced details you guys are talking about, the minutia. Then there's the political aspect of it and how this is viewed.
Well, there's
to the American
politics of
public.
it, right, which is completely different
Hold
than
on,
the
let me finish
reality.
my point. And that's true. Laura, Elon Musk, who has been at the right side, the right-hand side of Trump, is a little perturbed by a lot of this. He is highlighting what he sees as a hypocrisy because TikTok can operate in the United States, but X can't operate in China. Given their relationship, and of course, this is a win for Trump. Obviously, politically, people are happy. He's on the stage with them as well. J.D. Vance was not. Would this relationship potentially jeopardize the ability to have a staying power of that win for Trump?
The staying power of TikTok?
TikTok, if Musk is opposed to this current deal.
I mean, look, like David may know this better than I do. I mean, I think that clearly Elon Musk being in the room, having Trump's ear, could potentially influence him one way or the other. And he is potentially going to have an office in the White House. That's at least what's expected. So, yes, that could influence him to end up flip-flopping again because he was for banning TikTok, now isn't for banning TikTok, and he said it out loud because politically he feels as though TikTok benefits him and that it helped him in the last election. And it did. I mean, look, yes, young Donald Trump was able to reach young voters in a way that Democrats were not, and really utilize this new media information ecosystem in a way that the Democratic Party didn't at all. So it certainly did help.
The most interesting proposal, and David might agree this, would be if the United States just passed the same law that exists in China, that if you want to participate in business in China, you have to have a JV with a Chinese company. The reverse is not true here. So if we went to Tencent and Alibaba and Shein and others, Temu and others, and said, if you want to do business in the United States, you need to have a JV here. Wow, that'd be a great deal of leverage you'd have over Chinese companies.
The other piece of this is, as you point out before, China severely restricts American companies that want to go operate. It'd be really interesting to say, yeah, we can work something out for TikTok. And by the way, Google's back in China, and any Chinese citizen
reverse JV
can go get this. Yeah. Microsoft would be back in full. You know, Apple could do all of it, not just building the iPhone, but actually all the information distribution that goes on an iPhone. Chinese are not going to go along with this along the way. I find it somewhat remarkable that President Trump, who rightly raised all of the national security issues in his first term, brought up none of those tonight.
And interestingly, who's going to be, just on this, because it's such a big fact, the vice premier of China is going to be at the inauguration tomorrow. Historical precedent being set there. Never occurred in the history of the United States before. It's a big deal.
History is being made all sorts of places. We'll see how this all unfolds. Everyone stand by. Still ahead, resistance or a rebirth? How Democrats are thinking about the new Trump era as a new poll puts their party on notice. Plus, President Biden's final day in office, what he says he now regrets, and what it means for his party now in search of a new direction.